Pittsburgh is the city of winning. The city that holds the football team that has 6 Lombardi trophies, or the hockey team that has 5 Stanley Cups. You would think fans have been spoiled with sports in Pittsburgh, but that couldn't be further than the truth. The reason being the Pittsburgh Pirates exist. This team hasn't won a World Series since 1979. Most of their fans have never seen a World Series. Otherwise, maybe they were children and they got to see it. And it looks like it's going to be a while for another World Series to come home to Pittsburgh. The team has had a few good years, resulting in exciting regular seasons and even sometimes a pretty fun playoff ride. Some that are memorable, some that are not. But it's just never good enough. And not to mention, outside of 2013, it feels like it's been a constant Ferris wheel of rebuilding for Pirates fans. The question becomes why? Why have the Pirates been so bad? Why have they got nowhere? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The ownership. The ownership's been unable to provide any GM, any general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates in the last 20 years the payroll to succeed, forcing these GMs to go out and play Moneyball and fail big time playing Moneyball. Bob Nutting's record from the time he became owner to now is 256 wins to go along with 393 losses. He's responsible for the organization trading many of its key players, such as Andrew McCutchen, Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, Garrett Cole, and many more, all because he refused at all costs to pay any of them, plus the Major League development was awful. After that era of Pittsburgh swooshed by with nothing to show for it, a giant rebuild began, yet again. Later bringing in World Series winning GM of the Boston Red Sox, Ben Cherington, who immediately came in and traded star player Starling Marte to the Athletics for absolutely nothing. 2020 comes by and the team is pretty awful, to say the least, as first-year manager Derek Shelton leads the Pirates to a 19-41 record. With that being said, there were still some bright spots on this team. Young Brian Reynolds, who showed flashes in 2019 of being a superstar, had a decent year, but definitely showed signs of regression, but he's still young, so you gotta look forward to what he can bring to the table. Veteran Josh Bell, who hit 37 home runs in 2019, still exciting, but again, wasn't very good in 2020, plus a young third baseman with a stellar glove in Ke'Bryan Hayes, making his debut in this brutal 2020 season, and was the biggest bright spot of the whole season, despite only being up in 1 month, September. His bat showed it was easily the best bat on the entire team. With this to build off of, many moves happened. This team was trade hungry, and it wasn't because they wanted to be, it's because they had to be. They went ahead and traded Josh Bell, Jamison Tyone, and Joe Musgrove. By trading these players, they also acquired many players for the future. At least it's kind of what they thought. Some for the better, some for the worse as far as the prospects go. Notable players being Roansy Contreras and the Tyone trade, a young player who has shown many flashes of being dominant, although in 2023 has struggled. And the Joe Musgrove trade. Of course, Musgrove turned into an ace, but they went ahead and acquired closer David Bednar, who is now a top 5 catcher in the closer in the MLB. Plus a new top catching prospect in Endy Rodriguez. These trades have the potential to pay off, but in real life just hasn't really got there yet. They finished the 2021 season 61-101, and yet again it was a disaster. A 100-loss season with Brian Reynolds being the only player on that team that looked even decent. Otherwise, top pitching prospect Mitch Keller posted a 6 ERA, and that young flashy third baseman we were talking about in 2020, well, he was hurt most of the year, and when he did play, he didn't look great. It later came time for the offseason of 2021, and GM Ben Cherington was forced to play literal Moneyball. He brought in multiple players with only Jose Quintana and Daniel Vogelbach making impacts on the 2022 team. On the bright side, in this offseason, owner Bob Nutting finally opened up the wallet. He went ahead and extended superstar player, at least they hoped he would become a superstar, trying to do what the Atlanta Braves do, which is extend a young player before they really become a superstar. That was Key Brian Hayes to an 8-year contract worth $70 million, the biggest contract in franchise history. For a young player that showed flashes, fans finally wondered, has the time come? Has Bob Nutting finally decided to open the wallet, paying a player who can potentially become a superstar in Pittsburgh? That's at least what they hoped. Well, in 2022, they had a record of 62 wins and 100 losses. So yet again, a 100-loss season, practically 3 100-loss seasons in a row. Yet again, another 100-loss season with Bob Nutting. And in one of the weakest divisions in baseball, fans were tired, but unlike previous years, there were actually a few players that shined, a few players that showed potential. Of course, starting pitcher Mitch Keller finally got things under control, getting a high 3 ERA, center fielder Brian Reynolds, closer David Bednar, and a new superstar, one of the most hyped up players in franchise history, let alone MLB history. Shortstop O'Neal Cruz, who is a 6'7" shortstop with an unbelievable arm and one of the most power slugging bats you have ever seen to go ahead and elevate this team. In this offseason, they made the biggest move probably ever for a Pirates fan, and it's not a superstar, it's not the flashiest player, but it's a fan favorite player in Pittsburgh that they decided to bring back. That move was signing outfielder Andrew McCutchen to a 1-year contract. The front office, along with the fans, believe this could be the veteran to motivate these young bucks to end this rebuild. They also brought in veteran Rich Hill and a defensive merchant in Austin Hedges at catcher. The team was slowly but surely becoming rosterable. One thing was certain, the Pirates were at least trying to do things right. They also traded for outfielder Connor Joe and first baseman Ji-Man Choi, not to mention very early in the season, they extended superstar Brian Reynolds. Of course, could this finally be the year that the Pirates were finally competitive? Well, the first 2 months or so of the season, this would be the case, but the fall off was unlike anything we've ever seen. O'Neal Cruz got injured early in the season, hurting not only the team and fan morale, but also the performance in the field. For the first few months, they rolled out the same squad, but eventually Ben Cherington knew changes needed to be made after that collapse. He went ahead and called up multiple young and intriguing prospects that Pirates fans have been fighting for to make it to the big leagues for a very, very long time. This included young catcher and former #1 overall pick, Henry Davis. And keep in mind, this team is a giant hole at catcher. Austin Hedges is one of the worst bats in the entire MLB. So it was a blessing to Pirates fans to finally have someone like Davis. That was until Derek Shelton and Ben Cherington decided that they didn't care and they moved him into right field and kept the catcher issue. They kept defending Hedges as well, not acknowledging how bad of a problem that this was for the team. Luckily, Andy Rodriguez was literally just doing too good in AAA. He was tearing it up. And the other young catcher, Andy Rodriguez, got the call and he was actually allowed to play catcher. Since calling up all of these players and making these moves, you would think the team is actually quite good. Well, sorry to disappoint, but it's still struggling. So now, where do you put the blame? The general manager, Ben Cherington, manager Derek Shelton, or the disappointing team? Well, I think the answer is a mix of all. A team that doesn't care, mixed in with a manager in Shelton that is clueless 95% of the time, putting the same bullpen arms in the game every single day, to the point their arms go dead, there's no velocity. But hey, we can't blame it all on him. Ben Cherington also decided to extend this clown. After the 20 wins and 8 loss start at the beginning of the year, he decided to extend it. Currently, at 45 wins and 58 losses, this team has been awful. So what do you think? Well, there are rumors for David Bednar. What do? Do you trade David Bednar? Do you trade Mitch Keller? Because right now there's a lot of rumors floating around with them on the trade market. Would you do that? Because I believe in zero chance that this will help this team contend in the present or the future. It'll just strengthen this brutal rebuild, and ultimately, if that were to happen, I'd yet again expect Pittsburgh to clean house with everyone in that front office and everyone in the coaching side of things, from low team morale to bad decision after bad decision to the MLB development on the Pirates being one of the worst in all of baseball, I believe this is why the Pittsburgh Pirates have a collapsed lung and do not seem to be recovering at all. In this league, what do you believe the Pirates should do? Or what will they do? Hope you guys have enjoyed. Drop a like if you haven't already, and peace out.